Mögen die Wörter, die ich spreche, und die Gedanken meines Herzens dir gefallen, mein Gott, mein Fels und mein Erlöser. Amen. Good morning. There is a lot that can and certainly is being said about the times we live in. Whether you have always been an avid follower of the news or can do without it, like our latest windstorm on Friday, there is no ignoring it. It's in the air. If you throw a dart on a spinning globe, chances are, wherever that dart ends up, there is an ongoing conflict, a desperate struggle, maybe even a brutal war in that part of the world. All across this earth, our island home, millions of powerless and innocent people, millions of children, are caught up in the decisions made by the very few people who are in charge, who have power. From Syria to Congo, Germany to Venezuela, Haiti to South Korea, not to mention Ukraine or Gaza, it seems this world is on fire. Literally and figuratively, our world is on fire. Maybe now, about 13 years later, we all better understand what Kimberly Sweet Brown Wilkins said in an interview that quickly went viral. Because that woman knew how to tell a story. If you'll remember, when she got up from her sleep in the middle of the night to get a drink, she realized that her apartment complex was on fire. Focused very wisely, if you ask me, only on getting out of that burning building as soon as possible, she ran out without her shoes on. On this, she commented in the interview with the now famous phrase, "Ain't nobody got time for that." By the way, I don't do accents. I struggle enough with my own. She said, "Ain't nobody got time for that." It's a tricky phrase, is it? Not? Is it funny or not? This phrase can be used to humorously point to a lack of interest and patience in something. Like, I never have the time to be sick. Who does? Nobody, that's who. This phrase can also express the frustration and exhaustion that lead to the situation. Because I'm sure, all things considered, Mrs. Sweet Brown Wilkins would have rather had shoes to protect her feet than a funny interview. Heck, she would have preferred there to be no fire to begin with, because ain't nobody got time for that. Our world is on fire, and you know what? We don't seem to have the time for it. Because on fire or not, this world stops for no one. Our kids need to go to school. We need to go to work. Dinner doesn't make itself. Grocery shopping is a very time-consuming, annoying, and increasingly expensive errand. And speaking of which, bills certainly don't stop coming in either. There are doctor's appointments, taxes, laundry, studies, dishes, repairs around the house, picking up the yard or the church after an epic windstorm, traveling for work. There are troubled relationships and bad medical diagnoses. The world doesn't stop, on fire or not. Our lives and our work continue. The world of Luke, our gospeler, was on fire as well. The Roman Empire exercised power over subjugate client states efficiently, brutally, and with the help of local kings like Herod, who ruled Galilee for and with the permission of Rome. In our gospel reading today, the Pharisees warn Jesus. They say, "Get away from here. Run for your life, because Herod is planning on killing you, Jesus. You know prophets scare him because Rome does not like those kind of troublemakers." And you know he just beheaded your cousin, John the Baptist, as a favor for a nice song and dance. Seriously, Jesus, run. Instead of running, Jesus has an errand for the Pharisees, calling Herod a fox. He wants the Pharisees to let the ruler of Galilee know that today and tomorrow, his schedule is already full up with casting out demons and healing the sick. And the day after that doesn't look good either, because he'll be wrapping things up and will be unavailable. And anyway, he's not in Jerusalem yet, and we all know nothing will happen until then. Prophets die in Jerusalem. In other words, Jesus is saying, I have no time for you right now, Herod. No time. My life and my work continue. I have no time for you, Herod. You might be a clever and sly little fox, but God alone decides when and where and what I do on this earth. Jesus knows, and we know, that he would never run for his life. Instead, of course, in obedience to God, he walks towards his death. He continues his journey towards Jerusalem. Jerusalem, the seat of not only Herod's power, but Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of all Judea, resides there as well. And both men have the power to kill Jesus, and both men stand to benefit from silencing a troublemaker that upsets the status quo. Jerusalem, known to kill the prophets and stone those to death that God sent to them. Ironically, the leaders in Jerusalem accuse and convict those sent by God with disrespecting God. Jerusalem, that Jesus still longs to free and heal and nurture, even now, comparing himself to a mother hen in stark contrast to that sly fox on the hunt for him. Jesus wants to comfort even those who reject him. Jerusalem is unwilling to accept prophets, unwilling to be comforted by God's love, while at the same time praying and longing for it. What a situation. Herod wants Jesus dead because he perceives him as a threat to his earthly power. Jesus, not interested in this, has no time to worry about what Herod wants, because he wants to save Jerusalem and the world. And because Jerusalem does not want to accept the prophets sent by God, including Jesus. It is, therefore, in Jerusalem where Jesus finishes his mission of salvation. His death on a cross here, his last act as one of us, he so willingly walked and lived and worked towards, opened up God's healing grace to all who bless the one that comes in the name of the Lord. See, it doesn't matter what Herod wants. It does not matter what Jerusalem doesn't want. It does not matter what any of us want. It does not matter what is going on in this world. All that's going on, all the wants and needs, God is aware of it all. Jesus knew that Herod was a crafty fox. God knows the powers that be. God knows when the world is on fire. But the world doesn't change God. The world does not change God any more than Herod changed Jesus. Rather, God changes the world for those who want a close relationship, those who want to be gathered under loving wings of God. Unfortunately, just like Herod, just like Jerusalem, we are all too aware of how dangerous this burning world is, right? And it would be foolish not to be concerned. So we want to act. We are tempted to respond in violent anger, like Herod. A good offense is the best defense. We are tempted to reject God's will and messengers, like Jerusalem, risking feeling God's love ourselves because extending it to our neighbors is one step too far. I have to admit, I know I would rather be the fox than the hen facing the fox. This world is on fire, and we spend too much precious time worrying about and reacting to the empires and their Herods. We spend too much time, too much precious time, focusing on ourselves and on outfoxing our enemies. And you know what? That's a little bit like looking for your shoes when you should be running to safety. Ain't nobody got time for that. This burning world will keep turning, and our lives and work continue. Our time here continues. Maybe this Lent, we can be mindful of how exactly we spend that time. Do we live and work for empires and their Herods alone, spending all the time of our life on the mortal foxes in this world? Or do we live and work for Jesus Christ under the safe, divine wings of a mothering hen? Jesus said there's no time for Herod. No time for Herod. It is time to say, "Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord." Amen.